Hello and welcome back to another video from trainingrite.com, and this time we'll be talking about JUnit4. It's a test framework which we'll be doing for our, or rather using for our Selenium testing. So let's get started. Let me just quickly walk you through the scenario first, where we will be looking into how we could go ahead and then use that. So to get started, what I'll be doing is I'm going to be starting off firing off my Firefox, and I'll go to my application here, which I need to test, and the application which I need to test is eBay. So I bring up eBay, and this is what I intend to do. Now, when you go into Tools, if you have installed, if you have downloaded and installed a Selenium IDE, you should get this little icon in here, right? And this will help us go ahead and then quickly record, whatever functionality we need to test. We could just go ahead and record that in Selenium IDE, and then we will try and convert that code into whatever we need to convert that into. So we could, in this example, I'm just going to take that code and convert that into a JUnit4 RC Server code. We also need something called Firebug, and I had downloaded that and installed, so you will see this one sitting up here, right? And if you enable that, you will see something in the bottom here. If you hide it, you won't see it. Right now it's hidden, so if I need to enable that, so I could go in here, do a Firebug and say open Firebug, and then you will see that there's a window which is sitting in here. What Firebug does is it gives you the ability to go and uniquely identify an element on your page. All right. With that said, let us get started. Let us go ahead and then start recording what we intend to do. Okay, what I need to do in this case here is, first of all, I'm going to bring up my Selenium IDE, and the view of the Selenium IDE, as you see here, it is showing you there's a table and source, and what you see here depends on what kind of settings we have. So right now it is set to JUnit4 remote control. That's what that view is all about. So you should start with keeping it on the HTML and hitting that, and then this is how it gets started. So what we have here is whenever I'm going to record anything on my browser, let me just make space so that we see both of them. Those commands lines of commands gets recorded in here. You see this red sign that indicates that we are already in the recording mode, and any action which I perform on my application gets recorded here, and we will see something right under this command, target, and value. So let's go ahead and then type something in here. Let's say I'm searching for Chicago Bulls tickets. Now, Chicago Bulls is a basketball team, of course, in Chicago, and we want to search for their tickets on eBay. So I just go and then click on search, and as you see, it came up with 5,789 results, right? Okay, so as we had performed those actions on my application, it did record it up here. What I also need to record here is what is the output which we are getting from the application. So to do that, it's very simple. So highlight that text, and then you right click on that, and then say you need to store that text, let's say, right? Now you could store the whole line, or you could go ahead and then you could store individual items. So let me just go ahead and then store that, or you know what, just let's get the whole thing. So I'm storing, so right click on that and store this text present, right? I need to store that, or I will say store text. What's the difference between store text present and store text? I'll talk about that. For now, let's quickly go ahead and then click on store text. When you're storing that text, it is going to ask you to create a variable and name a variable where it could go ahead and then store that text. So I'm going to call it as eBay app results. All right. Okay, so it is going to store that in that. Now, if I want to make sure that if this is running fine or not, I could go ahead and then run it from here, but I'm not going to do that. So because what I intend to show you is JUnit4 test framework. So I will go ahead and close this browser. I close the browser. After I close the browser, what I need to do is whatever lines of code which got generated here, the commands which got generated here, there are I need to see if I want to find the code of that, or if I want to take that code and put it into the JUnit framework of my Eclipse. How do I do that? And for that, you could begin with by going to options and then say that click on options and then make sure that this enable experiment features is highlighted. What does this do? That gives you the ability to export whatever we have recorded, to export that in this format. What format? I could export in the C# format, C# for remote control. I could export it in JUnit4 WebDriver, JUnit4 remote control, and as you see the rest of them. So in my case, I'm interested in exporting this as a JUnit4 remote control. So if I select that, it is going to give me a message here saying that the changing format is now marked experimental. If you continue, what they're sort of trying to say is, they might not like 100% guarantee it because it's experimental, but you know what, it works. So just hit OK, and this is that code which got generated. All right, and that's what we are going to do. We're going to take this code. We're going to take this complete code and use this code. Control C. Use this code into a tool called Eclipse. So I start Eclipse. This is my Eclipse. When you do a run, Eclipse is going to open up and then a pop-up box and say that where do you want to save the code, and I'm saving the code into something called a workspaces folder. So I hit OK, and then it is going to launch my Eclipse and then bring me into this area. What you see here is the different tests which I have been working on. So that's what you're saying. So in our case, what we will do is we'll go ahead and then we will create what is called a new project. So I'm going to go to File and then I say New, and when it comes up, it will say that what kind of project you want to create, and I want to go ahead and then create a Java project. When I do that, it is going to ask me the name of the project. The name of the project is going to be eBay JUnit4, let's say in demo, right? And I will call this demo version 1. Okay, and I'm going to keep the settings as this and then do a next. Okay, now next thing which it is asking me is do you have any external libraries which you need to attach to it, right? Now my JUnit code or the project which we are going to, or the code which we are going to paste in this project would require me to add some of the libraries, because the code is a Selenium code, right? So I have to go and add those Selenium libraries, and the way I could add those Selenium libraries is by clicking onto this tab called libraries, and then by clicking into add external jars. And when I click on add external jars, it will allow me to add those external jars or the libraries. What you see here, it is by default it had added the Java libraries, which is version 1.6. Okay, so let me just go ahead, click on that, and it navigates, takes me to a folder. I have created a folder called, on my C drive, called Selenium, and in there I have created another folder called All Jars, and in All Jars I have all the jar files which I need in here. So there is a jar file called JUnit 4.8.1, and then that is what I need for as a JUnit framework. So I'm going to take that. That is one of them. And as you see, there are other jar files, and the jar file which I need is based on what I am doing. Since my code which I'm going to write or copy paste from Selenium IDE has got Selenium code, so I'm going to be going and then selecting this Selenium Java. So I will keep my finger pressed on Control and select that as well. And I'll be dealing with the Selenium server, and then there are different versions of that. Let me work with that. It doesn't matter what version you work with, so I'm just working with that. And then had I let's say if I was doing something with the databases and all that, then I would have gone and then added these. Right now I don't need that. I'm not working on a test ng framework, so I don't need that. Since I'm working on a JUnit framework, I need that. So what I'm doing here is adding the libraries. So I click open. It adds all those libraries. So the libraries which we added, or the jar files which we added, were for JUnit, for Selenium, and for the Selenium server. All right, so far so good. Hit finish. And what we have done here is we have created a skeleton code. As you can see here, this is the project which we have created. Now inside the project, what are we going to do? There are multiple folders in here. We are going to add a class. So the way I'm going to add a class is by going into the source. I right click on that and say new. And new what? New class. So since we have created a Java project, we have to go and then add a class into it. So here I go, create a class. And this class, I will name this class as JUnit demo, right? JUnit demo, JUnit this eBay, let's say eBay JUnit demo. All right. Okay. I'm not gonna take any one of these from here. Usually we go and then we take the public static void main. But in this case, the fact that I want to use JUnit is to make sure that JUnit offers me some ready-made functions. Like it can start a test. It can before starting that test, it is going to do. Okay, rather than talking about that, let me just go ahead and then click on finish and then show it to you. So here I go, hit finish. So what it shows here is public class eBay JUnit demo. So this is what it has given us, right? Now I'm gonna delete that and then paste the code which we had copied from the Selenium IDE, right? Remember, we converted that code from Selenium IDE into RC Server JUnit4 framework for RC Server. So that's the code. Now, when we copied the code, when we are pasting it, it is giving us some errors in here. The first error here is right here. It says that public class untitled extends that. Untitled because that was the code which we created, we copied from the Selenium IDE, but according to the name of my class, it should be eBay JUnit demo. So if I change that to eBay JUnit demo, that error hopefully should go away. And as you see, that error went away. All right. Okay. Now let us parse these things what we have in here. What you see here is the JUnit framework. The layout of that. And if you take a look, what we have here is a bunch of things in here. There's something called at before. These are called annotations, right? So there is an annotation called at before. There's at test and at after. So let's quickly go ahead and then see what do you mean by at before, at test, and at after. If there is any function, right? If there is any function, so it automatically created a function in Selenium IDE called public void setup. Right? So there's a function called setup, and it might throw some exceptions. So it includes what is called throws exceptions, and then there are two lines of code in here. The line of code which you have in here is it is telling to go and open the RC server on the port number 4444, and then using star.chrome refers to Firefox. Using Firefox, go to ebay.com. Right? And then basically it says, go ahead and do that with selenium.start. All right. So that's what it is doing. And then, so that this it does irrespective of if there is a test here or not. So the test it is going to run is this, right? That's the test, which, how do I know that's the test? Because right here with this annotation, we have defined whatever this function is. This function is going to be a test. So we have defined that with this annotation. And this function or a method which we have here, which is the public teardown, right? This again, this is not a test. What is this? This is some function which gets executed after the execution of the test. So this is before the execution of the test. This is the after execution of the test. All right. Okay. So in our case, we have only one test in here, and the test is as we have said, go and open to the URL, navigate to that, and then type Chicago Bulls and click on that ID equals GH search, and wait for the page to load, and then capture the text from that location and put it into this variable called eBay app results. And then we will write one more line of code, and that one more line of code is whatever it is capturing. Let's say we want to print that. So if we do sys-o and control spacebar, that will give you like whatever you need to print. And what I need to print is I will say this is the output from eBay app. All right, and then I'm gonna close that code, and I am going to show the output. So I join that or concatenate with the concatenate operator. And where have I stored that? I stored into eBay app results. So I'm gonna take that, and that's what I am going to show. All right. So now, if I go ahead and if I run this, notice that in my at before, I try to set up, call this function called setup, and in there we are trying to tell RC server to go to this www.ebay.com, and we are saying that RC server is sitting on 4444. So if I quickly go and then here, this is the run. Run as what? I should run it as a JUnit4. If I do that, JUnit4, run as a JUnit4, what it is going to do, basically, it is run as, right, JUnit4. When we do run as JUnit4, it is basically trying to do something in here. What it is trying to do, it is trying to run that test and then come back and then tell us what is going on. Now there is a green here. There's a green here, and it says that this is the output from eBay app Chicago Bulls, right? Now, if you see here, this is the output which we have captured. This is the output from eBay app Chicago Bulls tickets. So let me just make some space there. Let me make some space there. Now, the fact that this is working is because it had gone to ebay.com. It had gone to ebay.com, and it had opened. Let me just close this. Don't save. So it would have opened that. It would have gone that. Now, that basically we need to start the server. The way I had started the server is I have a Windows service running on my machine which starts the RC server. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you manually how to start that. And the way you could manually start that is by going into this location, and on my machine I have this on C drive. There's a Selenium folder, then all jars. Here I created a batch file, and the batch file basically is when you go and then when you say edit, it will show you the batch file. The batch file is I'm saying that navigate to that address and then activate or start my Selenium server, standalone server on port number 5555, right? So I am going to do that. So either I could take that code and go in here and type that code into my CMD, and I could literally type that code in here and hit enter, and then it is launching a standalone server, and it had launched that. Or I could have just double click on this file, double click on what file? On this launcher, because it's a batch file, and that could have executed that code. Okay, very good. Now that we have that, and we should change this port number to 55555555, right? We change that port to 5555. Now I am going to run this as an JUnit4 and see what happens. It will, as you see here, it is going to launch. Okay, it is launching it. This is the server. This is the eBay application. It is launching, and it is going to type. It did all that, and then it did return here. This is the output for eBay app Chicago Bulls ticket. Okay, if I change this a little bit, or better yet, if I do this, if I take and add one more test in here, I will take this, copy that, and let's say we want to add one more test, and this time let me name this test as testing, rather than calling it untitled, test Chicago Bulls, and here let me just test it as Lakers, right? And we want to search for Lakers tickets, and these are Chicago Bulls tickets. So I have two tests, and I want to capture, and then I want to show in here, bottom line in here. Now, at any given time, I want to find out, which method is getting executed, and stuff like that. So I am here, so I could just go in here and say syso, control that, and I could say that here I am doing what, this setup, right? This is the setup. Setup is running, right? Likewise, I will say I'm just going to take this Control C, being a little lazy rather than typing it. Now here I'll say that this, what is running? Teardown is running, right? Teardown is running. Teardown is running, and I'll just say this one is before we capture the output. This is what test is running? Test Chicago Bulls is running, right? So I'm gonna just take that and say that is running, and eventually I'm gonna go ahead and take this and copy here and say this is this is test Lakers is running. Okay, so at this way we will get to know if things are running or not, which one it is running and whatnot, right? So okay, here we go. Do that. Run as JUnit4, and we will see in the console here. We will see in the console what is going on at this time. Setup is running, okay, and then after that, Chicago Bulls is running. This is the output from the eBay app. Chicago Bulls tickets. Teardown is running. Then it starts up. Setup is running again. Oh, we have an error. Teardown is running. Okay, so we have an error. Okay, the error here is, let us see what the error is. Well, okay, it is saying few things in here. If you see here in the failure trace, Selenium exception, error, element ID v4-7 not found, right? Which is this. It is saying that that is not found. Okay, that's becoming a little bit interesting. So let's see what is happening. This one passed. There's nothing there. This one failed, and it says that it did not find it. Okay. All right. So let me just run this one more time and see what is happening. Sometimes what happens is it could be saying that because the test had ran so fast that you cannot see what is going on. So there is a way to forcibly ask this to slow down a little bit, and that you could do introducing what is called thread.sleep. So now, because it might be too fast, the execution is too fast, and by that time the browser might not have given you the results, so that's why it is doing that. So we will tell it to sit there for 5 seconds. So thread.sleep will help your Selenium to slow down a little bit, and then that should basically give you enough time to run that test and capture the results. Okay, let us go and then try and run this again. Now you might be wondering, like, why setup is running and setup is running. Okay, these functions, which is the before and after, they get executed, they get called before any test, right? Before each test gets executed. So it's like cleaning up, and it's like so we are opening up a browser here, right? And in the teardown, we are closing the browser. We are closing the browser. For the next test, we have to open the browser again and close the browser. So the cleanup and all that happens in the teardown. So it executes the before annotation, and the after annotation. These are two methods which gets executed every time you execute a test. So if I have like 15 tests, so it is going to do it 15 times, right? So let us go ahead and then run this again as a JUnit, right, and see what happens now. Those are my two tests which you see here on the side. These are my two tests, right? Test Chicago Bulls and test Lakers, and setup is running. As you can see, setup is running, and we can pull up that, and we can see. Okay, so setup running, test Chicago Bull running. This output is from eBay applications, and now setup is running again, and let us see what happens and what it is doing. Okay, so both the tests ran, and as you can see, when we ran both the tests, we have a green here. That means that both the tests passed, right? So if I expand and if I take a look, okay, that passed, that passed. So if I have more, that will pass too. Now, the question here is, we said this is the output from the eBay app, right? And what is the output? Lakers tickets and Chicago Bulls ticket. Why is it not showing the number, right? I'm interested in the number. So if I go in here and if I manually run this, and it is showing me some numbers. So if I go there and if I type Lakers, right? Lakers tickets. If I type Lakers tickets and do that, it is showing me some numbers, right? It is showing me these numbers, 58, 41. What it gave me was the Lakers ticket. I am more interested in that, right? So let us capture this. The way I'm going to capture this is if I know what is the ID of this element here. First of all, what element it is, what is the ID or the XPath of that, and for that I could quickly jump onto tools and quickly go into Firebug and then say open Firebug, and then we'll say that inspect the element. So I go and click on this inspect element and then come in here and then click on this little thingy. When you click on that, it is giving me the XPath of that. So either I can take the XPath of that, or I can use this name of the element. The name of the element is span. So I can use span, or I can use the XPath. Let me go ahead and then use the XPath. So I copied the XPath. For this one, for Lakers ticket, I just copied this one, right? So let us go and use that. So I close that. So to get that, we could go and put that in here, because if this line is bringing the text at this location, So let me put that at that location. Likewise, let me put that at that location, right? So it is going to get me the details from these two locations. Now let us, by this code and running this code, let us see what it is doing. And just for the heck of it, I'm gonna make one more test, right? Copy and come in here, and this time we are testing for let's say New York Knicks, right? And this is going to be test NY Knicks. It used to be a very popular team once upon a time in 80s and early 90s, but unfortunately this team is not very popular these days. But anyway, so let us go and run this code, JUnit4. Here we go. So we got 3 tests going on. So browser gets setup is running right now. Right, here is my browser. It opens, and so setup is running. It closes that. Chicago Bulls is running, and it returned 3,269. Very good. Teardown ran. Now setup is running again, and this time we will go ahead, and this time we are running which test? It is going to go and do Lakers is running, and Lakers return 5,854. And finally, setup is running again, and this time this is going to return for New York Knicks. All right. Okay, so there you go. So we have 5,853 here, 5,854 there, and then we have for my Chicago Bulls. All right, so what we have seen here is how we could be using Selenium code in JUnit4 test framework. So I started this by recording in the Selenium IDE. Then I copied the code by going into options and format to JUnit4 of RC Server. I copied that, and then I came into Eclipse and I created a new Java project, and I added some of the libraries. The libraries or the jar files which I needed was whatever I needed, which is again going in here. You could go and then you could see what we need, and we needed these four in the Java build path. You will see that libraries I needed, so I added that. And after I added that, I went in and I created a class, a new class, and that was my class in the source folder. This is my class. And after that, I came in and I pasted my code. I changed the name of the class. It was untitled. I changed that, and then I showed you these annotations: the before, and the test annotation and the after annotation. And then we ran this code, and then we looked into, and we ran into an issue. The problem was it was not able to identify, and then we fixed that by introducing what is called thread.sleep. Well, that's about it. That's an introduction to RC Server, an introduction to Selenium IDE, and more importantly, an introduction to how you use JUnit4 framework using Selenium. And thank you for watching this video, and we hope you'll come back and join one of our courses which we are offering, many courses which we are offering from trainingride.com. So thank you again for watching this video. Hope to see you back again soon.